What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Now today we are taking it to the best mounts, doing a little tier list for y'all for the swimming, ground, and flying pals that we have inside of Palworld here. So we got some good ones for you. Gonna go over those three categories. Like I said, with the swimming, we will go over that first. It'll go over the level required to make the saddle to ride these, and since there isn't too many pals that have the swimming capability, and it's not as important as the ground or flying type, flying being the most important, we're only going to cover 3 for swimming while going over 5 for each ground as well as flying. So let's get right into it with the swimming ones first. So before we get into the mounts and the pals for each of those, the swimming, ground, and flying, we're going to go over those passive traits that you want to breed onto these mounts to make them their absolute fastest. Now, the hardest one to get is definitely going to be that legend. Comes from some of those pals in the end game, Frost Stallion, etc. But it is a 15% increase to your movement speed. So that would be the last one that you probably can get, since it's on some of those level 50 pals, 48 pals. Next off in this category, you got Nimble. This is a 10% increase to movement speed. So almost as good as legend, but not quite. Next off, we have Runner, which is the second best for movement speed. That's why legend was basically, like I said, the last one to get, because it's on some of those end game pals. Plus, it isn't the craziest at 15%, since we got Runner right here at 20 for that increase in movement speed, being second best with Swift, which is a 30% increase to movement speed, being at number 1. So when you put all of these together, you can get a 75% increase to movement speed, which is absolutely nasty, making all of these mounts that I'm going to go over for swimming, ground, and flying even better than they were before. So in a third place for our swimming pals, we got Serpent. This right here can be acquired at level 10 for that saddle, so you can get this and ride it around pretty early in the game. Number 2 on the list for swimming pals for the fastest speed is Jormuntide. At level 39 is when you get the saddle for this, so it does go a little bit later game, and it really isn't the fastest one, with its overall sprint speed only being at 700 compared to our number 1 choice, which is the Azarobe, which has a sprint speed of 800, plus you can get it at level 24 for that saddle. So that is the fastest for the swimming, with a Serpent at 3, Jormuntide at 2, and then that Azarobe at number 1. So grab those if you're going for a swim. Good for taking them over long distances, like over to the wildlife refuges. Definitely a little easier than flying over, but like I said, flying is definitely the best. Moving on to our ground mounts. Now, there are a couple that have the double jump options, which makes them a little faster than normal. So in our number 5 spot, I'm going to go with Rayhound. This can be acquired for that saddle at level 26 and has that double jump. So it is a pretty quick ground mount to start us off. Number 4 on the list, we are moving to a level 50 pal that actually associates with our number 1 as well for those boss fights, when you have to grab them from the very north side of the map in that desert area. This is the Palladis. So like I said, level 50 for this to get the saddle as well. So it is an end game mount, but it is super fast as it moves around the map, with its second overall in its sprint speed actually. Now when we go to our number 3 spot, we are throwing the Fenlope up there. Also at level 26 you can get that saddle, so same as the Rayhound, it has the double jump potential with those right partner skills, passive skills on it. It absolutely flies. Plus, one of its moves you can kind of incorporate into its jump and give yourself a little extra boost on top of that. So that is why I was throwing Fenlope at number 3. Now, when we move on to number 2, we have both of the Pyren and Pyren Noct. They are our second fastest on the ground list, with the levels that you can acquire the saddles being at level 30 for the normal Pyren and 33 for the Pyren Noct. So again, another mid-game mount, but I personally would choose the Fenlope over the Pyrens, just a little bit more fun with that double jump. And last but certainly not least on this list is Necromus, which comes with that Palladus all the way north on the map in that sandy area, level 50 for the saddle again. But this thing is so fast on the ground with easily the fastest sprint speed. This thing gets you around super fast, super easy. So definitely, if you're looking for those ground mounts, that's what I would go with. Number 5 is Rayhound. Number 4 is Palladus. Number 3 is our Fenlope. Number 2 is our Pyren and Pyren Noct, with number 1 coming in with Necromus. Moving on to our flying mounts, which are definitely the best in my personal opinion for getting around the map. They can get you everywhere, over the water, across all the mountains, because there is a lot of elevation changes on this huge map that we have for Palworld. So coming in at number 5, we're gonna have Shadowbeak. Now this is a late game mount, but it is very fast. At level 47 is when you get that nice saddle for it, and you can craft this pretty early, which is a good pal to have in your party for damage. But like I said, you will have to level up all the way to 47 to get that saddle, but once you get it, absolutely flies around super fast. Next off, we have Ragnahawk, which is a fire pal that is at a little easier level to obtain, which is 37 for that saddle, and it is definitely faster than Shadowbeak, but not by much. But at 10 levels earlier, very easy to grab one of these by your breeding aspect. So definitely would suggest this for number 4. When we move on to number 3, this is personally the one I use most often, especially once I hit it, was Flarius. This is at level 38, so not much long after you get the Ragnahawk at 37 for that saddle, but I feel like it is definitely way faster, especially when you're not using that sprint speed. When it's normal flying, Flarius really takes a jump in that flying speed, so that is my personal favorite to use at the moment. Definitely Jetragon at number 1 will be the best to have, but Flarius is a very easy one to get for that mid game. Now at number 2 on this list, we got Frostallion and Frostallion Noct, another endgame at 48, but this thing does again fly. Definitely super fast when you got that sprint speed going on. Got to get up to 50 basically to get this, because you got to defeat it as well as craft it, but definitely worth the grind because this thing is also a really powerful pal for both the Noct version as well as its normal version. And then coming in at number 1, which is a pretty much, I'm sure everyone was figuring, is that Jetragon, which its flying speed and sprint speed is absolutely off the charts, hence the name Jet in it. It is an absolute just machine when you are flying around the map. Level 50 is required for its saddle, so it is an endgame mount, but once you get it and capture it, super OP for getting around the map. You can unclear all of those fast travel points, get all of those alpha pals and tower locations super quick with that Jetragon. Now, for a little caveat I want to throw in, since a lot of these in the flying category were in that end game content about 37 or higher, a nice one to get that is a pretty early game in my personal opinion is the Vanworm. You get the saddle at level 21, and it is pretty fast compared compared to the other ones down low, like Nightwing at level 15 is super slow compared to that Vanworm. So for that early game, as an honorable mention, I would go with Vanworm, but overall for the flying, definitely we're going with Shadowbeak at 5, Ragnahawk at 4, Flaris at 3 with the Frostallion knocked at 2, with easily Jetragon at number 1. So hopefully y'all can grab these pals as soon as you can. All that information was up on the screen. Go back, pause it if you need it for the level required for each of these with those saddles to be able to craft on it, but definitely the best mounts to have in the game. Get to going on those, get all of those passive traits that I talked about at the beginning that make you super quick. So appreciate all that support again, truly appreciate it. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.